forgot my hammer. Ms. Pruninger, would you lead us in the pledge, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Good evening on this balmy February evening. Calling the order to the town of Johnsburg, February 18th, 2025, town board meeting. I need a resolution to accept the minutes from February 4th.
Motion?
Second.
Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, next on the agenda is Cedarwood presentation regarding the water district. Nick, Bandel? Bandel. Nick Bandel from Cedarwood is going to present. He has a 12-slide PowerPoint that he's going to present, so we can kind of go through what some of the changes that we're looking at the water district. So, Michael, do you want to drop this? I'm going to go out to the audience.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Nick Bandel. I'm with Cedarwood Engineering. I'm one of the engineers there. And tonight I'm going to discuss with you the North Creek Water District, the rules, regulations, form, and rate changes that are being proposed. So just an overview of the changes. So a couple of the changes that are being proposed tonight are, one, a water connection application. So that is a kind of form that is filled out for everybody who is a new water user to the district. For instance, when Ordo decided to connect to the water district, they had to fill out an application form. If you buy a parcel of land that is not connected to the water district, but it is serviced by a water line, and you want to install a water service, that would be that form that you fill out. And I'll go over that in a little bit more detail because it does have certain fees that are based on if you're to connect. The second form is one that might be more common use for the water district. That's a water service request form. The third one is there's updates to the rules and regulations. And then the final point is the proposed water rate increases. And that is based on the usage dependent part of the water fee. And I will go over kind of what the current structure of the water rates is. All right, so the water application form. Key changes are mainly the first page is a better harnessing of clerical information. So it's more discreet with the owner information and contact information, and a property classification. So that'd be municipal, commercial, or residential, or subdivision. And then a water buy-in fee, which I can show on the next page when I show you the form. Basically what a water buy-in fee is, and a lot of municipalities use these, is it's for the valuation of connecting to the water service based on the amount of money that the water district is really worth to be connected. So all of the improvement projects that have been done to date that everybody's been paying on, such as like, oh, you have a new water tank and we've already paid half of it off. There's a value based on that. And same with the booster stations, the pumps, every component of your water district. So it's a one-time fee when you first connect to water district that only new applicants pay for when they install a new service. There's inspection fees, and that's again only for, these are all for new applicants only, and that is for the water operator, the water district, to inspect and make sure everything is being installed and according to the rules and regulations, and not just for the water district, but the Department of Health rules and regulations as well. The applicant responsibility for construction fees. So there's some notes on the application that explicitly state how the applicant is responsible for all of the construction fees associated with their new service. So the town and more so, right, the water district, which is paid for by the ratepayers, they're not footing the bill of a new person connecting to the water. That is for the new person as the applicant connecting to the water. So they're responsible for procuring a contractor that the town and the water operator have to make sure, okay. And same with getting all the materials, and then the installation, those fees they're responsible for. Office tracking improvements. So this also gives improvements for the water district clerk to go through and make sure things are tracked accordingly. So there's sign off with the operator for pivotal moments there. As far as inspection complete, fees received would then also be signed off, and then total application complete and billing status and what the account number would be for the new billing software. And then just another summary of that. So this is the example of that form. It's actually kind of a long form. It's 5 pages, but it's pretty simple. The first page is just the information. And then it also references a Schedule A. That is for if there's a more complex property, anything that's not single family residential, there's an additional breakdown that is required just to see what your flows and demand to the water district is going to be. It also outlines provisions. So if you have a large subdivision, you're adequately billed for the amount of water you're anticipated to use, as well as allow for it to be tracked better. The second page does go over some of the office information, specifically with the water usages, as well as the size of the service, and then it details the 2 fees for the application for connection, which are the water buy-in fee, as I described, and the inspection fee. The third page is just applicant notes, which basically talks about the responsibility of the applicant to bear the cost of the new service. And then the fourth page is the acknowledgement of fees. So the fees that are acknowledged are based on the ones that are in the rules and regulations, but this also says this is the fees that you're subject to as a member of the water district. And I believe this is kind of also this is relevant to everybody, and it's actually a good summation of what, so not just new applicants, but it's a good summation of what the fees are in the water district. The first one is annual water rent. That's your annual water rates. That's what you're required to pay to be on the water district, and the water district able to connect to the water district and to use the water and how much you use, right? This annual sprinkler tracking fee. So that's a fee that has been in the water regulations since its last iteration. I'm not sure when that was. I know it's before 2014, I think. But it's been in there. Not necessarily fully enforced. But basically, this is stating, this is an enforceable fee. And what it is it's making sure that everybody in the district with sprinklers gets them inspected annually and reports them to the water district. And the fee is the clerical processing of the sprinklers and doing everything required. Sprinklers are important. There's a lot of situations where, because certain fire provisions can be made, they had to have sprinklers, so it's also a safety thing. And there's a large water usage associated with it that go off. So that's important to the water district there. Penalties. This just basically describes the blanket penalties that are in the rules and regulations. Pool filling fee. So pools are large. They're roughly, the smaller ones are 15,000 gallons. So that has an amount of water associated with it. Being that the district is not metered, it is based on the estimate of the amount of water used to fill a pool, with 2 tiered, one being residential, one being commercial, and then a corresponding rate to the amount of water, what your typical water usage is per gallon. That is then billed and worked out to that $50 and $100 fee. And again, those are not new. Those were in the rules and regulations. Those are just brought out, so you acknowledge that those are fees for the district. And then the last one is a water turn on off fee. So when the water operator gets a service request to turn on or off the water, there's a fee associated with them doing that because that's beyond their daily activities that gets paid passed on to the ratepayer. The thing with the water turn on, turn off fees is in the rules and regulations, there is a provision to where if you have your water off for one billing period, 6 months, you don't get charged for the usage fee of that water, right? Because you're not using water then. So this begins the process of that or ends the process of that. So there is a fee associated with it, but it's so, the district knows, when water's turned off and, because you can't, a private, resident can't go and be touching the valves of water district. It has to be by the licensed operator. So they would turn off and on the curb stop. That's the fee associated with that. And then there's just an acknowledgement of the fees. Again, this is only for when the acknowledgement of fees is only for when you're applying with a new connection. However, these fees are relevant to everybody in the water district on this page. And then there's, again, office tracking stuff. And then this last page is the additional breakdown. If you have a subdivision or some type of commercial facility, typically those get, they have engineering plans with their water demands, and that is kind of the information that's asked. It's basically saying the district can anticipate you're using X amount of gallons of water a year, because there is an anticipation of that. And those estimates come from the 2014 Intermediate Design Standards, published by the New York State DEC, Table B2. But there's other ones that, if it's not specific to there, and if it's a different category, like a Metcalf and Addy estimate or whatever, the engineer who is doing that facility being a larger one, can supplement with that information. The second form, this is more relevant kind of to everybody in the water district, but is the water service request form. So this basically outlines those ones that I said have additional fees. Sprinkler inspection, request to fill a pool, and water service on and off. There might be other things you might need from the water district. I'm not sure what they would be, but there's another scenario where if you need to contact the water operator, it is something that you think that there should be a log of, or the clerk or water operator determines there should be a log of it at that time, then that can be filled out. And again, it's just to know, what's happening with the district, where the water's going, and basically, make sure everything is running smoothly as it should be. Again, this is just a one-page form. And then on to the rules and regulations. So the rules and regulations have been updated slightly. The updates have minor language updates, and they also defer to the forms that I just listed. The connection application fee and the water service request fee were kind of required by an audit with New York State, and they saw and said, you need to properly log these types of things that are happening, and have a better application process. That's why those have been revamped. Also, there was fees not necessarily historically collected, that because those forms are in place along with the standard operating protocols, it will make sure that those fees get collected adequately to help fund the water district. There's also a couple of notes in the rules and regulations that kind of just describe the water operators' rights to get a hold of the homeowner in an emergency and work with them to kind of remedy any type of situation that is problematic, an emergency situation, a water leak per se. So, if somebody's water's leaking out of their basement's flooding, the water operator can identify where that is and shut off their curb stop so the water district stops losing water, and then work with the homeowner to remedy that situation, whether it be repair the pipe or you just identify a blockage and jet it. And then it also explains the requirements for who pays that bill if there is repairs needed, and how it's separated, where there's the service owned or the homeowner owned side after the curb stop and on their property that is to be paid for by the user. That's what they own. And then everything on the other side is the water district, and those repairs are made by the water district. Again, this is not something that is just random that was chosen. This is backed by municipal law and kind of every municipality where the water district starts and ends for a service connection. And then it just has, and then it just has additional information about the different components of a water service. So corporation stops, gate valves, basically specifications. And then it does defer to the water operator and or engineer to be able to receive submittals from an application to modify a service, and then vet them. For instance, everybody knows this pretty much, but there shouldn't really be any lead pipes installed in new services. There's lead service line inventory recently, but there's no new lead that can be installed for a service. So obviously that's one of the specifications there. But they go a little bit on further to regulate certain backflow preventing devices, as well as certain curb stops that are acceptable and ones that are unacceptable. And for the final part is the water rates. So to familiarize everybody, back in, I believe it was December of 2023, a new water rate schedule was passed by the board. And effectively what it did was it took the old water rate structure, which was just one fee per classification, and it separated it into two. A non-usage dependent fee, a capital improvements fee, if you will, which covers debt service, and then a usage dependent fee. And that is based on the estimated water usage, and it covers operation and maintenance costs. So being that there's no water meters in the district, it's based on a flow estimation per category. So there's typical categories: residential, single family, residential per +1 per apartment, commercial, gas station. They're all listed on the scheduled water rates. And those that don't fall in, you try to find a similar category as usage, but there's always a calculation that can be used with those design standards to determine how much water they typically use, which is what we call an EDU, equivalent dwelling unit. And then that is then extrapolated to what the correct billing rate should be if a category does not fall within any of those. But for the large part, everything's covered within the schedule of water rents. So the usage dependent fee is the one where there's a proposed rate increase. And what that is that covers electrical costs, personnel costs, chemical costs, sampling costs, repairs and replacements, and then also allows for a healthy balance in the water fund to be built. A balance in the water fund is essential for emergencies. It doesn't necessarily have to be large, but there should be some floating balance there in case there is costly repairs. But those are the two structures of the fees. And the last time the water schedule was updated in 2023, the fees per service really didn't change. It actually took the same amounts and it just switched them in as far as disseminating it into a connection fee and a usage dependent fee. There might be some different categories that did, but continue. I think they got rounded up to the nearest $5, but they did get switched and broken apart to the two. But so there is a proposed increase tonight, and I just want to go over why that is and explain kind of what the two components of the fees are. So the typical residential, there's a connection fee that is not proposed to increase. It is proposed to remain the same for now. As the debt service payments, there is no new debt service yet. There's an outstanding water project that may incur phase two. That is to be discussed at a future meeting. But the usage dependent fee does propose an increase. That increase is $20.50 per billing cycle. So that portion of the fee would go from $225 to $266 per year. That is an example. So that is only the example for the most common category, which is typical single family residential. And what are the reasons for the rate increases? Basically the largest one is inflation. Everything that is used to sustain the water district is, also inflating. Unfortunately, the chemical costs, electrical costs, and labor costs. And at the same time, one thing to note is that in 2024, the water district did have more expenditures than revenues. So what that means is it ultimately ended in a deficit. So it's not something arbitrary where, nobody ever wants to increase rates, but the budget did end up lower than it was supposed to. And again, this is to cover the daily kind of functioning. So this doesn't have to deal with any capital improvement projects, not the new water tank. this is solely to cover the daily costs of sampling fees, which have went up. Chemical fees, your sodium hypochlorite and your zinc orthophosphate, again, electrical. So those fees that are associated, and that's what this is to help burden. And then just another point, for water districts are kind of their own entity as far as financing goes, where every water district should be solely financed by the ratepayers of that water district. Consequently, if you borrow money from another portion of the government, the town government, right, you have to pay it back by the end of the year if you were ever to do that, but that's frowned upon. But everything, all the improvements have to be paid for solely by the watershed users. Now, you can go out and get grants and stuff for certain type of capital improvement projects, which actually the town has done, and that's the case with the South Tank Water Project. But basically, that's kind of one point. And then conversely, though, all the money collected goes to the water district. So if water rates are collected and any of that fund is not used, so there's a surplus in the fund, which is healthy but minimal, right? Still, nobody wants to be spending too much more than they have to in their water rates, but that money stays to help the water district. So if there's ever an emergency repair, it can be only used for the water district, i.e. it can't be used in any other portion of the town. So these are our proposed rates. This is the new schedule. So as you can see, typical residential goes to 266. I believe that was at 225. Additional apartments goes from 150 to 177. Again, this is annually. Bills are paid twice a year, and I believe it's April and October rents. And then it just furthers on throughout the schedule. Everything is a uniform percent increase from all the categories, so it's not just everybody got $20 added to their fee. Larger commercial facilities had a larger amount added to their fee. It was percentage based. And then I just wanted to end also with saying that for a future meeting, this is tentatively on March 18th. I'll be back to also discuss the current water project for the tank. That is a WIA project. So there was grant funding that the town received to help with the water district. Again, this is not related to this usage dependent fee that I kind of described in those fees tonight, but it's just a future presentation about the money that has been given as a grant to the town, which does have a slight local share, and kind of the next steps because phase one is completed. But that is a future meeting, and if anybody has any questions, I can more than happy field them. Yes. No, not after. The regulations say for a provision of 6 months. So it's because if you turn it off when you left and came back a week later, it's also not efficient. Correct. Correct. Yeah. So the district isn't metered. So the usage dependent is basically an estimation of how much water you're getting with the fee corresponding is. Yes.
If you could go back 2 slides for me. There, typical residential, it says a $25 per billing cycle, 50 a year, and then usage dependent, it goes up 20, 50 per billing cycle.
Yes.
And then that's a yearly. So what is it per billing cycle?
Oh, so
usage dependent. Is it 225?
it would be the new proposed rate is 266 divided by 2, so 133.
So it's half of it.
Yes, and on that bill, the total fees would be 133 plus 25, so 158. Yes. And again, these rates were not arbitrarily created or selected. What it was the amount of users per each category that was existing was basically put in new Excel, and then it was iterated with a uniform percent increase to make it so this way the anticipated expenditures were less than, or just slightly less than the anticipated revenues. So this way, the water district would be operating in a surplus. So it was basically a numerical equation. It wasn't just arbitrary. And this is based on the historical data, basically what the budget came in last year for expenditures. Yes. Yes. I've dealt with, the one thing is that some communities do have meters. Um, and also they have a little bit different billing structures because they have meters. The way really water districts work is they're almost commodity to an extent, right? The larger you have, the cheaper it can be for everybody. The smaller your water district is, the higher the cost is. Yeah, I mean, your water district's actually in pretty good shape. It's pretty comparable to other communities, honestly. I'm working with one, unfortunately. They have, I think, 70 ratepayers, and their wells are failing, and they needed to do, I mean, they've been on a boil water the last like week, and they've had to shut on water. It's a good example of how you should be proactive instead of reactive when you have future repairs that need to be made to your district. But they had to shut off water, shut it on for 4 hours, shut it off to let people gain water. But I mean, their debt services, once they're done with their next project, is going to be like a $350-$400 a year increase annually because they only have 70 people, and they've been waiting so long to, they try to keep rates low for so long, and then it comes back and, hurts you in the end. But like compared to Warrensburg, we helped them a little bit. Their rate structure the last time, it's been a while, but is a little different. I think the yearly rate for a single family, they have a base fee of like $195, and then they have a meter fee. So I think they end up like around 150 meter typically. So I think their overall is like 350 a year. I have to check and see what their latest is, but there's also that usage dependent fee that it's different when you're metered versus when you're not, and then they try to equalize it out so this way they're making they're having more balanced budget, so they kind of adjust the water meter fees as well. Whereas this is same thing, but it's adjusting the usage dependent fee schedule versus the meter fee. But you need water meter data to do that anyway. Yes.
How many users are there?
There are water counts. There are, I think, 546, somewhere around there, in the 540s. In those accounts, that total number is people who are in the service area of the water district that have water main running in their house, whether or not they are connected, but the majority of them are connected. I think residential, there's like 280 something categories of users of single family residential. And I know there's a little bit over 50 commercial places. And there's a couple new applications outstanding right now. All right. Thank you for your time, everybody.
There's one condition that can cause the whole water district.
It's all in one packet.
Yeah.
Okay.
The rates are separate. So one is the rules and
Right,
regulations, the other
yeah.
one's water rate.
And resolution for the 25 water rates. Okay, all right. All righty. Okay. So we need a motion to bring the resolution to adopt updated water rules and regulations and water connection application. We need that to be brought to the floor, please.
Motion?
Second.
Any thoughts or questions by the board?
Yeah, I just have one, and maybe it's for Nick, or I'm not sure who it's for. Says that number 7, rules and regulation, the district reserves the right to install meters on service lines at any time. I guess my question is, does a homeowner have the right to install a meter at their expense and have metered service?
As far as the installation of the meters, I don't think that anywhere in the regulations, that cannot happen. There's a minimum of things that are required on the service.
Can you speak into,
Yes.
sorry, guys, just to make sure that everybody can hear.
Yeah, so as far as meters are concerned in the water regulations, and there's provision that allows for if the town ever was to, or the water district really, was to ever go and wanting to overhaul the district and install meters, that was a provision in place. And I think that was in the rules and regs because there was talks of that happening previously. There's no harm being there, but that has not happened yet. As far as a homeowner installing a meter on their side, they're more than within their right to do that. So is that as their piping, as long as they have the minimum portions of the district requirements like backflow preventers or curb stop. However, what was eliminated in this new draft was in the last draft, there was an option for a meter rate that has kind of been taken out of these new schedules. If, the town ever was to pursue trying to do a meter structure in the future in the water district, that is up to them. But at this time, there's no advantage to having metered water other than what you're getting. In other municipalities I have worked with, ones that have no meters at all, they've also done semi-metered or phased approaches in the future, which are like where you just do commercial because they're kind of weird water rates, where their usage may sway a lot. But at this time, the rates are structured so that there is no advantage or meter rate.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Mr. Dunkley? I'm not familiar with that loan.
Right.
Yeah. How long ago did that happen, Bruce? Oh, go ahead. Okay.
It is a district, but it's for the capital project. So you will have to determine the rate of interest, and it will have to be paid down with interest. It's still in play because we're still using it, because we're still in that short-term funding gap where we still need money to be able to pay Cedarwood and other contractors as we move forward.
probably bring that up in that conversation at some point. Okay, right.
I'm sorry, what did you just say to?
I'm
what was
just, I'm
the
just saying
aside?
we should probably have that conversation. Yeah, we should probably have that conversation. Mhm.
Right.
Right, yep. Put that on the agenda for our next meeting, conversation for the board, with the board. Okay.
Nick, did you have something to add?
Any other comments? Seeing none, let's see, we're going to adopt the new water rules and regulations, water connection application. Need a vote? All those in favor?
Do we-
Aye. Oh,
Do we have to, do we
wait,
move
but
the-
then
Oh,
there's,
okay, thank
there's a
you.
bunch of them.
Okay, thank you. Aye.
All right. And then the next one is the resolution to set the 2025 water rates. I need a motion to bring that to the floor.
Motion?
Second?
Okay. Any questions or conversation? Board, anybody from the community? Okay, seeing none, I call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Next, resolution to fill the part-time transfer station attendant position. Need a motion to bring this resolution to the floor, please.
Move. Second.
Okay. Any questions or conversation about this resolution?
And so this was already budgeted, just so people
Yes.
understand. It was
Yes.
already in the budget. We're not using any new monies for this.
Okay.
Paul, can you comment how the committee feels and what they came up with this
This
request?
is a necessity at this point. The steps we've taken at the transfer station are requiring a second person to really make things smooth, to actually make the things work that we put in place, to be able to guide people properly with the disposal of their waste, be it recycle, returnables, or garbage. And we need, like I said, I've seen several people have approached me about this also. This is not just seen from our side, this is being seen from the community side also. So we do need to do this. And again, this is budgeted money. This is no further strain on our resources either. This is already planned for. And I'm well behind it. The case for it is there.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Seeing no further comments, call for vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
If we're going to place an ad,
yeah,
can we?
yeah, we should probably, so, I'm not sure how it ended up off of the agenda initially. I think it was on, but we have someone who's leaving the highway department, going to county. And Fred is in need of a CDL driver. Mike is leaving at the end of the month? Okay. So we need to, we've got both, we have an ad for, to fill this transfer station position, but it also, do we need to, we'll need a floor resolution for the person, but can we do, will it cut us a break if we advertise for both positions or no? Does it make?
No, they're separate ads
Separate
anyway,
ads?
but the sooner we get both of them in, the better off we'll be.
Okay, all right. Why don't we, all right, so let's just vote on this. We'll do a floor resolution and then we'll do the, for the highway. Okay?
Sure.
Okay. So as far as did we get a vote on the
We did
advertising?
we did
Okay,
vote.
all right. So let's let's do number 7, then we'll go to highway. All right.
Okay.
Resolution for Director of Public Property and Programs to oversee the portion of the occupancy tax money that is annually set aside by the board for special projects. I think we've had this conversation before. Pete basically gets OCTAX money to run a number of the different programs throughout the town, and it just kind of makes more sense to have him, oversee those funds.
And I think to make clear, Pete still needs to bring over his procurement allotment, which is $1,000. He would still bring those to
correct.
us
Right.
under advisement, and we would vote on them. And also, if we felt that there was something that we really wanted to do, we could
Yes.
also, so it's not a carte blanche
No.
sort of thing.
Still have input.
Yeah.
No.
And one of the things I talked to Pete about, because he's boots on the ground, he's in the hamlets, it would be nice to see this money then sort of move out to the hamlets for other projects out there. And there's different ways to look at how occupancy tax is going to be used to beautification projects are a great thing. And I think looking at how occupancy tax was used for Utah, this is how that conversation happened with Pete and I. So I think this is a great way to look at occupancy tax a little bit through a different lens and get it out in the hamlets as well.
Did I ask for the motion? Motion to bring us to the floor, please.
Motion. Second.
Any other questions or conversation? Seeing none, call for vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Floor resolution for Fred to add, I'm not sure how we want to do this, Gene, but basically allow Fred to advertise for a CDL driver. And do you have a start date in mind, Fred?
Well, isn't there something,
We have to, I believe, once we get a person in, then we would have the individual, their pay rate, their designation as far as MEO, light MEO, am I right? I mean, is there anything else? Right, so that would be a resolution after we found the right candidate, is that correct? Okay, yeah, so just advertise for a CDL driver and cross your fingers, because
yeah,
I'm guessing that we may end up with somebody that has to go through training. And I had a conversation with Kevin Hajos, I think it was last Thursday or Friday. They're in the same boat. They're all looking for CDL drivers, and they're all going through training. Yep, there you go. Nice to know.
Can we get a motion to bring that to the?
Sorry, motion, yep,
Motion.
got 2.
You can't.
I know I can't, no, I said we have 2.
All in favor?
Thank you, ma'am. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Committee reports.
not
Sir?
much. Our next scheduled solid waste committee will be the first Monday of next month, and we haven't met with the highway committee recently, which we are planning on probably beginning of the month also. So there's not a whole lot to bring to the board here tonight, other than what we had discussed previously with the solid waste and adding another half person there. That's about it for me.
So not a committee, but the website, there's been a lot of growing pains with it. The community's frustration is certainly our frustration, although I don't think anybody's as frustrated as Jean and Joanne. So the things that we have been working on, and by we, I mean the hosting solution and the IT person there, is making sure that they understand that getting the agenda and the budget and the meeting minutes up is a number 1 priority. So those are up now, along with information about the town board, the standing committees, the community page. All that said, we have no contract, and we paid $140 to have GoDaddy host this. So I think that there is no problem in reassessing our relationship with our current hosting solution, and then having a conversation about North Shore. The door is open. They served us very well for many years as a hosting solution. In a month or two, if these continue to be the hiccups and we can't work through them, I think it would be wise to
Revisit that.
revisit this conversation.
Mhm.
Comprehensive plan, after 2 years, we are almost finished. It is very exciting. So we are in the process of coming up with an executive summary to give to the board, as well as finalizing a few last-minute edits. Those were going to come out to the board 2 weeks prior. March 18th, we are going to schedule a workshop 6 PM prior to the 7 PM regular meeting. And Jean and I talked about that today, so that's going to give us plenty of time to get that in there.
Just my concern, that, March's meetings are in the small meeting room.
Okay,
They're doing the floors in here, so our
Okay.
two March meetings
okay.
are in the, and that's fine.
Yeah, I know. So it'll look like we're very popular, standing room only. So, and that will be, we will have to vote on that. Kevin, you had said that you were going to reach out to the attorneys about potentially having us meet with them and the board and the consultants to talk about our obligations to the grant that we took out. Have you been able to do that?
Actually, just got our attorneys just reviewed the contract,
Okay,
and I'll basically be giving that to everybody. I'll
Okay.
be sending that on. I received that late today.
okay, great.
Yep.
So, and then for the other committees, we haven't had a budget committee scheduled.
Yep.
And I know that you were reaching out to the attorneys to discuss about them being
Mhm.
open. Have you heard back from the attorneys?
I got a phone call last Thursday or Friday from Mark Shackner. It turns out that if there are 2 board members present at a committee meeting, there does not need to be 72 hours advance notice, and we do not need to take minutes. That said, I think we can certainly make it clear as to when the budget committee is meeting so
Okay,
that people can attend.
okay. And I think, setting ground rules that we are there to do business.
Correct. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
great. And I don't think there's anything else for
Okay.
any other committee.
Mr. Williams.
Sewer.
Yep.
I'm sure many of you saw that we were able to get an award from the county for 2.5 million in occupancy tax for the sewer project. So that was able to close our gap. We thought that might come through. We weren't sure. But what we've had to do is a bunch of different things in order to move the sewer project forward. Because the money isn't coming up front, we needed to set a bond hearing. That bond hearing will be, that's why we had a special meeting last week. That bond hearing will be before the next town board meeting. We're going to need to take out a larger bond to finance the project. Because the money from the county will be coming over the next 10 years. We were also able to increase our loan from the USDA for an additional $2.5 million at a 1.5% interest. If anyone looked at the prime interest rate today, you'd see that the prime interest rate that the government is loaning money to the banks is 7.5. So being able to get 1.5% interest is pretty remarkable. And what that'll do is that'll bridge, once the project is finished, that money will help pay off the bond, along with the other grants that are reimbursable grants. And then we'll use the county money to pay down the principal on that USDA loan. So all of those pieces are coming together. We hope at our next board meeting to be able to have a public hearing, amend our bond, and then vote to award contracts. Once contracts are awarded, then there's a whole bunch of other steps that are needed in bonding of the contractors that USDA will have to approve. And we've already started getting them all the paperwork for that. So that's all, seems to all be falling into place. In our work in discussions with ORDA, now we're working on the contingencies in logistics.
They have a September opening. We currently have a Holden Hall permit for holding and hauling waste should our system not be up, running, and functional, which it probably won't be by the time of their opening. And we're looking at a second option for Holden Hall as well. So we're working through all those steps in answering the questions. I've never built a sewer system, so I don't know all the municipal rules and regulations of when we can charge, how we charge, can we have just one customer while we're still building out. So there's a learning curve that's going on. We had a great sewer committee meeting last night. And most of the conversation was addressing the contingencies for ORDA and making them feel secure that we got it under control. So that's the sewer. I would like to say, I have, in 2 different occasions, sat at this table and implored our supervisor to push the county for more occupancy tax funding, because we are the northern winter destination. The county came through for us, and in large part because of some of the relationships that Kevin has built at the county level, and also in large part recognizing that Johnsburg and North Creek can be an economic driver. So I would just like to thank the county for coming through.
Is the thing with Holden Hall because we have one currently for one location and we're asking it for a second location?
Yeah, so the current Holden Hall is utilizing the 60,000 gallon tanks down at the processing.
Okay.
The DC wants to have a certain level of capacity over a safety limit that they say. There's 2 6,000 gallon tanks that will be put in at the lodge. And our hope is that we can talk to the DEC about using those 6,000 gallon tanks if the other piping under the road to the processing facility somehow gets delayed.
Okay.
Just having a backup to the backup.
Okay.
Yep.
And I think to the occupancy tax, it's wonderful to see occupancy tax being used for infrastructure. And I don't know if they want their names mentioned, so I won't say them, but there were a lot of people behind the scenes that were instrumental in making this happen. So it was wonderful to see people come together like that. A lot of people at the table, a lot of people in the room making that happen. And again, it's wonderful to see occupancy tax being looked at in a different way. I do think that means eyes will be on us because we are the first people to be doing this. So going forward, tease, all that stuff, but I think it's good stuff.
Arthur? Sure, I think so, yeah.
Congratulations getting the county funds.
Yeah.
I was interested in the dialogue going back to the sewer project would be. And so I hope this is not the last resort. No, you were quoted.
Well, essentially, so let me just make this, I'll make this statement because I think it's important. We do have other opportunities. Unfortunately, those grants won't be available until April or May. And so, and that really put us in serious jeopardy. I mean, this was our Hail Mary pass, guys. I hate to tell you, but that's what it was. We did not have it. We did not get the 2.5. We would not be able to award bids. And I don't know where we would be right now. And I would be, I really don't know. So we do have opportunities there. In fact, I've been going back and forth with Jessica Lurkes, who's with Champlain Lake George Regional Planning. She's applied for a $2 million grant from Empire Development Corp. I know that Ethan Gaddy with the county is applying for a $1 million infrastructure grant. I believe Jessica and Beth Gillis have applied for another 500,000. So there's money out there, but it's so far out ahead of where we need, further down the road than where we need to be right now. This was it. If we couldn't award the contracts, we would be in trouble. No. I'm just telling you, I'm providing context for your comment. That's all. Well, but again, I mean, if we can't award contracts if we couldn't award contracts, we're in a tough spot.
Public information about how all these pieces come together, because the way Jim described it, seems like there's a lot of pieces floating around that have to come and land almost simultaneously. Makes me a little nervous. Just wondering whether or not there's gonna be some public information around, so that when you come to a public hearing.
It's all in the public hearing notice.
It's all in the public hearing notice. I think that it's in the public hearing notice.
What's in the notice, but all these other kinds of issues, the timing of work, the cost, if you don't get it. I mean, it just seems like, and the role of the county going forward, seems like there's just a series of issues that be important to understand how this is going to get rolled out. Both in terms of cost,
Okay. Pardon me?
both in terms of cost, additional cost to the town, the bond, those kinds of things.
I just want to be clear. The cost to the town is the same as the water district. There were 55 people in the North Creek Sewer District that voted to form a district and to begin the process of building a municipal wastewater system for that district. If you live in Baker's Mills, if you live in North River, this won't cost you anything. It won't cost you anything. So the public hearing is an official notice that we're going to take out a larger bond, and all of the financials are included in that public hearing notice. The other stuff isn't part of the public hearing. Yeah.
So, all of the 55 in the district will be fully connected immediately with district funding?
Yes, if the funding that we have includes the hookup of laterals. Yes. So it'll come down Main, I guess for simplicity's sake, because there's different branches of the sewer system, but it'll come down, let's say Main Street, it'll branch off and it'll stop at the end of the public property. That's a T. And then we also have funding then to take that through the private property, hooking up to each individual home. That it's part of all of the funding.
Part of all the funding.
Yes, part of all of the funding.
It was missing when the bids came through, it wasn't there. And so we had to they had to find funding to gap that, to cover that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if everyone in the district has to be. There won't be a charge for the hookup during construction. Someone can choose to not hook up. And if they hook up at a later date, then they will be charged. Yes.
Yeah, that was the carrot, because not only did I support it, but, we were a part of the district, yeah. So that was the carrot to get people to sign up for it, that was going to be included. And so it somehow wasn't in the bids, and then, so they've worked to find a way to cover that, so that promise could be realized. Yeah.
So it's not gonna cost the private owner to hook up if they do it at the time that the lines are laid.
Yes, correct.
So even the digging to their residence or business and all that, it's gonna be it's gonna be paid for?
Yes.
Right. Yep. Correct. And obviously, I mean, I think just one more thing is that obviously this is in phases. Phase 1 is going to be Orders Lodge. Then Main Street will be phase 2.
So the resolution the town passed to allow Florida to use the property, that resolution is still in effect?
It is currently.
Yep.
But there are no plans that have been presented to the board.
their cost. At Orta's cost.
That would have been at Orta's cost, yeah.
Would have been, or it will be? I'm sorry, I just.
They're gonna be part of our, they're in our sewer district, they will be paying to be part of the, obviously, they'll be paying a fee to be part of the district.
Construction phase. Way Orta presented it in the conversation, was Orta was going to pay for the cost for the sewer line down to the beach. So
Not
No,
anymore.
not anymore.
Because our original plan, that was all part of the North Creek Sewer District. So when we were short on funding, Orta, of course, was going to look at other options to make sure that their lodge was open. Because we closed the funding gap, we're back to our original plan, which is to build all the infrastructure, and Orta hooks up and becomes a customer. Again, we have two contingencies that if the processing plant isn't ready, that they can still open. Yeah. Yeah.
If I can add, I feel very comfortable with this current board. Okay, so that, that coming from myself and what, that, the current plan that we have worked out and the nice job that, Jimmy Kevin has done, secure that extra funding, I feel we're in good shape. And as far as when we open the line, if it's September 1st, September 10th, we'll be, that part of it. But we're all moving forward on the same path. And that's what's important.
Good. Good. Yep. Mr. Stevens.
And the Town of Johnsburg Seniors Committee will be meeting again tomorrow morning. We'll be meeting here at Tannery Pond at 10 a.m. And we will be continuing on with our planning for Senior Day, which will be coming up in May,
April 23rd.
April 23rd.
Here. At 9:30.
Very good.
9 o'clock.
Okay, April 23rd at 9 o'clock.
What's up?
That's it.
Okay.
We skipped by the supervisor's report, can we just go back to that?
Yeah. So I'm just going to make a comment. I'm not going to talk about the supervisor's report right now. So for those of you who are not aware, Jim Williams is a former hockey player. So when I start saying this, if I end up with an elbow, you'll understand why. If it were not for Jim, we would not be this far along with the sewer guys. We would not. We had a conversation last night, the Zoom call that's been going on for, I don't even know how long now. And Chuck Barton asked a question about rules and regulations for the sewer district. And I found out something that I think I probably had forgotten it, but Jim actually wrote 78 pages of rules and regs so that we could apply for the USDA grant. So if it were not for the work he did, and if you hit me on the way out, I'm gonna
Keep your head up.
on a swivel. So I think that really is a testament to his dedication to make sure this happens. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Yep. I know you don't like the spotlight, Chad, but
Not at all.
I know. Sorry. Historian's report.
Oh,
Did
we're
you,
gonna- we need this-
supervisor's report?
Super-
Yeah.
motion.
Motion.
Second.
Comments? Seeing none, call for vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Historian report is in your packet for those. Okay, yep. All right. Do we need a motion? I'm not sure. No, no motion? Okay, didn't think so. All right. Warrants, need a motion to move warrants to the floor, please.
Motion?
Second.
Any comments or questions?
I guess it's my turn. Yeah, we do have, we have on the warrants number 72 for KLW Municipal Incorporated. I have been notified that it is a all or nothing vote that you take. You cannot as a board member, I cannot separate out one particular bill and then say, okay, I'll agree with all of the others with the exception of that. I either have to vote yes or no on the entire presentation. And I started out with the reval that the town is presently involved in at a cost of $91,000. I said at that time that I felt that it was a total waste of money. I still feel that it is a total waste of money, and I will vote no every time that there is a bill in here for KLW that I am present. So in answer to anyone's question as to why I vote no, that is why.
I think I should not be a hypocrite. I would have to join you since I voted no against.
That's,
Okay,
All right. So roll call.
roll call vote.
Councilperson Hyde,
I,
No.
Aye. Aye.
no.
Motion passes. I guess we missed privilege of the floor too, Gene, on this one? You didn't want privilege of the floor, did you?
Subconsciously?
was a pretty-
Subconsciously?
sorry.
All right, privilege of the floor.
Was there an official, like in the spring, for the ITAX, there was an official report with who got what and all that, but I never seen one for the fall, ITAX. I've never seen an official report with who got money, who didn't, and
Can we put that out?
all of that.
I'm not the chair.
When did that come? When did all right, I'll have that for you. I'll have that for you next meeting.
It should be, yeah.
Yep, I'll have it for you next meeting. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
A couple of meetings ago, you talked about presenting a little bit more information about the reval, what the process is and timing. I don't know if you've had a chance to.
I've been knee deep in a sewer.
No, no, no.
No pun intended, but I will do Octax and I will do the reval next time around on the 4th. Mr. Olszewski.
We said no to both of them. I'm just kidding.
Cut you right down.
I appreciate your support on both, particularly the transportation. I'm really excited about the opportunity, as I mentioned at the last meeting, to push forward with our improvements both to the facility, to the overall processes that are using up there. On that note, a couple of big things that have happened in the last few weeks. We do have our bottle collection bins going. They're labeled.
Good.
Currently, it's the youth and government group from Johnsburg Central School.
Good.
They'll be collecting and returning the bottles through the end of the month to help fund their annual trip to Albany for their conference. We also got our brand new scrap metal container delivered. It sits just behind the newspaper bin. We've got a temporary sign on it, and I'm gonna have a bigger sign made like we have for the other bins. But I'm really excited about that process and cleaning up the pile of metal that used to be on the side. So I can't think of it. So, anyway, we're forging ahead, with transportation, and I really appreciate the board's support in trying to make those improvements. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from privilege of the floor?
Actually, I did just think of one other thing. Nobody else was gonna go. On the park side of things, yesterday, the youth committee held its annual winter extravaganza over at Seawolf. Despite it feels like temperature below zero and winds that were literally knocking the kids over on their snowshoes. We had about 40 people there.
Cool.
Plus a few stragglers, skiers that were going by and saw 3 hot dogs and popcorn. It was good. We did some sledding. The skating rink got a ton of use. As I had mentioned to Jim, I feel like the biggest success this winter has been the rink and the location of the rink. Obviously, there's still improvements and things, to work out, but it's definitely paying for itself. It's getting a lot of good feedback. Some of the best ice around is what I'm told. So I'm not much of a skater myself, but it's fun watching.
gotta buy skates.
Thank you again for supporting all the things that we're trying to do in the park.
High school, state championships for, Nordic speed, Monday, Tuesday at school.
This coming, so a week from, this coming Monday and Tuesday? Oh, cool. Cool.
Including one Johnsburg and Marigold races.
Awesome.
Freshman, boy, Sawyer.
Yeah, the redhead kid that
Yeah,
runs.
that's
I
awesome.
See him running.
Really?
Must be.
That's great. Good stuff.
Okay.
Thank you, the board.
Yes.
Improving our parks, trails, and letting you as well.
Yeah. We could do without the wind chill. All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Okay. Thank you all. I'm gonna let you leave first. I really don't want to get.